Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Grade 10 English Lessons. This episode will be Unit 2, Episode 4, Summary Making and Translation. Now, in the previous episodes, we've learned some vocabulary items and we've also tackled reading comprehension questions. In this episode, we're going to learn about how to summarize a text and how to translate from Arabic into English. To begin this lesson, I want you to think of the following question. In what ways can you show respect for other cultures? Could it be with a gift? Or a certain gesture? Or is it in other forms? Think about it or discuss it with whoever is next to you as we go through this lesson. Now open your workbook to page 10. And let's summarize. But first, what do you think is a summary? A summary is a shortened text written in your own words. Pay attention to in your own words. This is a key method to help us summarize a text. In your own words means that we paraphrase. So how can we paraphrase? Well, we can shorten some ideas. We can change the vocabulary. For example, we have a certain word. We can find another word that has the same meaning. We can change the verb form, for example, from an active verb into a passive. And we can also change the word class, for example, from a noun to a verb or a verb into adjective, and so on. Now let's practice. In the workbook, page 10, we have this first paragraph. Let's read it together. Sometimes respect between cultures happens in the smallest forms. In 2002, the United States Postal Service issued a special stamp to honor and commemorate Islamic culture. The blue postage stamp was adorned with gold Arabic calligraphy in celebration of both Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. The text reads both Eid Mubarak in Arabic and Eid greetings in English, providing a simple bridge between languages and customs. Eid Mubarak translates literally as Blessed Festival and can be paraphrased as May your religious holiday be blessed. Now let's look at the first sentence. Which vocabulary words can we change in this sentence? We have the word sometimes, which also means occasionally, and now and then. We have the word between, and we can see that there are other words that have the same meaning. We have among, in, and across. The last one here is happens. It could also mean comes about, occurs, or passes. Now let's paraphrase them. Let's change sometimes to occasionally, between to among, and change happens to occurs. This is how our sentence would look like. Occasionally, respect among cultures occurs in the smallest forms. Do we paraphrase every single word in a sentence? Definitely not. So let's go ahead and take some tips for the summary making. First of all, summaries are not a place for background knowledge, opinions, or personal information. So make sure that you don't write any of these. We don't want to know your background knowledge about a certain topic. We don't need you to write your opinions or your personal information. So how do you think is the best way to summarize a text? First of all, you read the text and make sure that you understand the main ideas. Don't let big words scare you. If you find a difficult word for you, read the sentence again and again and again in order to understand the context. After that, you will have a good idea of what this word means. And 3, ask yourself, what is this text about? What are the main ideas? However, pay attention to the following. Your summary should be in complete sentences. There shouldn't be anything missing in your summary. It should cover the main point and key ideas. It should be in your own words. That means that you paraphrase them. Your summary shouldn't be written in points. So make sure that your format is in paragraph format. Your summary should not be off topic. Here is the rubrics for the summary making. These are the things that you need to pay attention to in order to get the best summary possible. First of all, we have the content and relevance of ideas. That means that your ideas in the summary are related to the question and the text. We have paraphrasing. You write the answers or the summary in your own words. Spelling and grammar. Make sure these are good so you don't lose any marks over them. The last one here is the format. Like we told you previously, don't write in points, write your summary in a paragraph format. And all of this will give you the total for the summary making. Here are some important information that you need to know as well. First, copying the whole paragraph receives a 0. So please don't copy this paragraph. All we need from you is to write a very simple and short summary. Exceeding the required number of sentences also makes you lose marks. For example, if you write more than 4 sentences, for example 5 sentences, then you lose 5 marks. If you write 6 sentences and above, you lose 10 marks. So pay attention to that and make sure that your summary is in 4 sentences and not more or less. Now open your workbook to page 10 and let's read the last 2 paragraphs there. The stamp design was created using carefully considered traditional methods and instruments. The designer used homemade black ink with pens made from seasoned reeds from the Middle East and Japanese bamboo from Hawaii. The paper was prepared with a coating of starch and other coats of a special varnish that contains egg whites. It was then polished with an agate stone and aged for more than a year. Zakaria's original black and white design was then embellished with color using a unique computer program. The colors chosen, gold script on a blue background, are reminiscent of great works of Islamic calligraphy. Even the colors of the special stamp are a mark of respect. Here we have the summary question. In 4 sentences only, summarize and paraphrase the passage in an answer to the following question. Now pay attention to what's asking. We have summarize and paraphrase. Pay attention to these 2 things. Here is the question. How was the stamp design created based on the text we've just read? So here we have the first answer. It was created using carefully considered traditional methods and instruments. The designer used homemade black ink with pens made from seasoned reeds from the Middle East and Japanese bamboo from Hawaii. The paper was prepared with a coating of starch and 3 coats of a special varnish that contains egg whites. And the last answer, it was then polished with an agate stone and aged for more than a year. So we found the answers to the question. Let's go ahead and paraphrase them together. Here we have the first sentence. Look at the word created and instruments. Do you think we can change these words into other words to paraphrase? Let's look at the paraphrase sentence together. First, the stamp design was developed using carefully considered traditional methods and tools. So if you look at the paraphrase sentence, we began with first, which is a sequenced word to help us organize our summary. We've also changed the word created into developed and the word instruments to tools. This is a very simple vocabulary change that we did, which helped us paraphrase the sentence in our own words. Now let's look at the second sentence. The designer used homemade black ink with pens made from seasoned reeds from the Middle East and Japanese bamboo from Hawaii. If you look at the sentence, it's an active sentence. So let's take the object in this active sentence and turn it into a passive sentence. So I have to take the object and begin our paraphrase sentence. Second, homemade black ink with pens made from seasoned reeds and Japanese bamboo were used by the designer. If you look at the paraphrase sentence, we began with a sequenced word, second, and we turned the active sentence into the passive sentence. So this is a very simple sentence change, or active into passive sentence change that we did. The third sentence here, the paper was prepared with a coating of starch and 3 coats of a special varnish that contains egg whites. We have the words coats and a special. I'll give you a few seconds to think of different words that have the same meanings for coats and special. Let's go ahead and check the paraphrase sentence. Third, the paper was prepared with a coating of starch and 3 layers of a unique varnish that contains egg whites. We use the sequence word here, third, for our third answer. And we change the word coats to layers and special to unique. This is another form of vocabulary change. This is our last sentence. It was then polished with an agate stone and aged for more than a year. We have the word polished. Let's change it together. This is the paraphrase sentence. Finally, the paper was then smoothed with an agate stone and aged for more than a year. We used finally as our sequence word for the final answer, and we changed the word polished into smoothed. This is how your summary should look like. As you can see, we've used sequence words to help us organize our summary. It's in paragraph format, not in points. And we've also changed the original sentences into our own words by doing vocabulary change. And we turned an active sentence into a passive sentence. Now let's go ahead to the translation. Before we begin, here are some tips for translation. The first one is translate meanings, not words. Avoid word-for-word translation. Don't leave spaces for words you don't know. And look for keywords that make a difference. Now translate the following into good English. فهد يجب أن يسود التسامح والسلام بين جميع الناس في كل أنحاء العالم. So we have the word تسامح, which means tolerance, and السلام, which means peace. These are key words that could help us translate. So if we translate them alone, we have the words tolerance and peace. However, our translation is not complete. Now, is this acceptable or is this rejected? Of course it's rejected. We don't have a complete translation, so make sure you don't do that. Let's go ahead and figure out what we can do with the other words to translate them. We have the word yasud, which could mean take over, prevail, or rule. Now, if we put these 3 meanings to complete the translation, we'll have 3 different contexts. The first one, take over, tolerance and peace, prevail, tolerance and peace, and we have rule, tolerance and peace. So we can't take the first context or the last context, right? So it has to be prevail. Is this acceptable or rejected? Prevail, tolerance, and peace. It's rejected. The reason behind that is because we need to avoid word-for-word translation. That if we do that, then we give the wrong order for the whole sentence. The correct way to do this is the following. Tolerance and peace must prevail. Now this is a good translation. We've translated the meaning from Arabic into English. To continue, tolerance and peace must prevail in people all over the world. Now it's your turn. We have this sentence. حمد لذلك يجب علينا أن نحترم الثقافات والأديان الأخرى. To help yourselves, look for keywords that make a difference. You have 2 keywords here. نحترم الثقافات and الأديان. Now, translate this sentence yourselves from Arabic into English, and then let's check the answers together. I'll give you a few minutes. You can pause the video to translate it. Let's check your answers. Hamid, that is why we should respect other cultures and religions. Excellent job. So in this episode, we paraphrased and summarized a paragraph We also translated sentences into good English. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.